Between my savings account and cashing on my 401k, I have been self-funding the development of the Blue Dollar app. Now I need your help because we're campaigning, but it ain't about politics. Through our Kickstarter campaign, we're raising $50,000 to fund the continuous development of the iOS app, which the first version is launching in May, and the Android version of the app, which hopefully is launching later this year. When you go to the Kickstarter page, there are options from $15 all the way to $300, and each tier has a reward. There are heavily discounted app subscriptions and exclusive merch that you won't find anywhere else, not even on our website. As a thank you, I'll give anyone that backs the campaign a free month of the AI powered self discovery coach that we're launching. It's a coaching app with unlimited sessions available 24/7 whenever you need support. People that have used it, they said it literally feels like they're talking to a therapist. And you know how expensive that be. Peep this. Your card isn't even charged until we hit our goal. Visit the Kickstarter page to learn more and back this dope project. Expectations will help you with the ambition and it'll help you chase the goal, but ambition will also sometimes set you up for anxiety and this idea of failure. Because in my mind, I had this like fairy tale Disneyland-esque type of expectation around, oh, I'm gonna click live, I'm gonna put up one post on Instagram, and people are gonna see this, it's gonna go viral, people are gonna flock to the Kickstarter page, and I'm gonna hit my goal in like a day. You know what I mean? What's been going on in my life? Well, last week I launched a Kickstarter campaign to raise $50,000, and the duration of the campaign was about 30 days. We're halfway through, and we're about 12% funded. I'm here to take you back to when I first launched the campaign, and maybe even before that, to let you know what was going on in my brain and how I've been managing my mental health up until today. Probably on the next episode, I'm going to go through lessons that I've learned so far about launching a Kickstarter campaign because they've been really interesting. And although the campaign isn't over, I think the lessons that I've learned will be consistent even after the ending. Maybe I'll have some things to add, but this has been such a fascinating learning process. But let me take you back to before we launched the Kickstarter campaign. So, as you may already know, we're launching an app. It's supposed to be an AI-powered self-discovery coach. So the idea is that you'll have access to a coach that'll help you learn about yourself, available in your pocket 24/7 whenever you need to access it, right? Now, I've been self-funding the development of this app up until now. Actually, the development of the whole company up until now. And I thought, all right, well, before we launch, before we launch the actual app, let me launch a Kickstarter campaign that will have exclusive merch and also exclusive pricing. It's kind of like a pre-sale for people that want to access the app, right? And I'm thinking like, all right, how much should I raise? Because that's all right. So there's a GoFundMe, there's various platforms to raise money for whatever you're building. And let's just use GoFundMe as an example. So GoFundMe has a platform where people can donate money and they won't receive anything. They're just like supporting the campaign or supporting the cause, supporting the whatever the person is raising money for, right? The reason why I went with Kickstarter is that Kickstarter actually has an option to receive rewards for people that submit, support, support the cause, etc. Right? And I really like that idea because I like the idea of providing value to the audience, the community, etc. So that's one thing. It's like, all right, pick the platform, right? Then I had to pick the rewards. I was like, I want to launch this new merch line that is a lot more close to the brand, and I want to work with an artist. I really fuck with the merch. Like I would actually wear this outside compared to a lot of the designs that I launched previously. I'm like, I probably wouldn't even wear this, right? Like I feel a lot more comfortable, excited, and confident in putting this line out. Cool. The app speak for itself. Like I know people are going to get value from it. Let me give people a discounted rate for it. Cool. All right. So the next thing I got to think about is like, how much money am I going to raise, right? And things I got to think about are, well, how much is it going to cost to continue the development of this app? So we're launching the iOS app this month. We're still working on fixing a few things, but we should be submitting to the App Store this week. I know I've said that in the past, but this one is real. Again, we have to fix a few things. So I'm like, all right, how much is it going to cost me to do that? That's just the iOS version. How much is it going to cost me to launch the Android version? Plus, how much is it going to cost me to make a couple iterations of the iOS? Because we're going to launch it, people are going to provide feedback. We need to take that feedback and make a couple updates. Be like, yo, this button isn't working. This button doesn't make sense. This functionality doesn't make sense. I needed to do this instead of that. Like, this would be really helpful for my life, etc. Right? Plus, let me add a little extra on top to shit, hold myself down for the rest of the year because I haven't made any money this year. Right? Cool. So I landed on the idea of raising $50,000. Now, I looked at other campaigns as well, not necessarily comparable from the sense of what they were building because it's hard to compare, like, because no one's launching this, you know? But I was like, all right, if they could do that with this size audience, maybe I could do this, right? On top of the idea of like, I broke down the math $50,000. All right, let me see. I have X number of people in my audience. Can I get 1,000 people on average to give me $50? And I was like, that sounds doable. In my head, that sounds doable. Plus, I was like, all right, I threw an event, and in a matter of a week and a half, I got 300 people to sign up. Barely any promotion. I was like, if I could do that, I could get 1,000, right? 300. That's like halfway to 1,000. Whatever. That was my mindset. That was my thinking through all of this, right? Now, the thing with Kickstarter is that if you don't hit your goal, you don't get any of the money. So let's say my goal is 50,000, which it is, and I raise $49,900. So I'm $101 away from exceeding my goal, right? You will not get any of those $49,000. So you want to set an ambitious target, but also a realistic target. And thinking about it now, maybe I was ambitious, but not too realistic. I don't know. Time will tell. I have about 20 days left. So a little over 2 weeks to make this happen. And I'm not here to say, will it happen or will it not? I'm more so here to process my thoughts through this live audio video journal entry because that's what these solo episodes are. And if it sounds like I'm processing my thoughts in real time, that is intentional because I am legit processing my thoughts in real time. I don't have a script. I don't have anything, right? So let me take you back to that first. That was like the pre-launch, right? Let me take you back to and for the last thing too is kind of like the duration. So Kickstarter urges people to create some sort of like time urgency around how long you want to raise the money for, right? So and I get that point, right? So they urge or recommend probably around like 30 days, which I get, right? Because let's say I'm like, oh, I'm bringing $50,000 through the end of the year, right? People will be like, oh, I'll just wait. I'll wait to December to donate. I'll wait till this date to donate. And then they kind of just wait and never do it. I mean, even my mom, right? Like I was talking to my mom about this and she was like, oh, how long is the campaign for? She's like, oh, until then? Oh, well, I'll just wait until the end date to see how much you need to close, right? So in that hypothetical example, if I've already raised $49,000, she'd be like, "Oh, I'll put in the extra thousand." Hypothetically, she don't got no $1,000. I mean, she do, but whatever. And I'm like, "Mom, that is not what you want to do because if everyone has that mindset, then they're gonna see this huge number at the end, and then no one's gonna donate because they're gonna be like, well, I don't got that much money to close it, you know." So urgency is important, and I understand why they recommend 30 days. I did a little bit over 30 days, like maybe 33 days or something, but that was all the pre-launch thought process, right? When I hit that launch button or like go live button, whatever that was, oh lordy lord, your boy anxiety started going on an uptick. Let's just say that, okay? I launched it. Did I launch it last week? I think I launched it last. Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since I've launched it. I've launched it last week, and let me tell you, I think it was maybe that Monday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I did not poop. Why? If you know, you know. When my anxiety hits an all-time high, that joint takes over my whole body, and I didn't poop for 3 days straight because I was so anxious around what was happening. And I'm gonna get into what was happening, right? I was so anxious about what was happening that it literally took over my whole bowel movement, and I didn't poop for 3 days straight. And on Thursday, that glorious day, your boy pooped. And I don't know what it was about Thursday in particular, but oh my God, I was so happy to finally cleanse my system. Then Friday, same thing. Saturday, same thing. Sunday, your boy was flowing. But I think the anxiety also has to do with the expectations that I had around the campaign. And expectations are important because expectations will help you with the ambition and it will help you chase the goal. But ambition will also sometimes set you up for anxiety and this idea of failure. Because in my mind, I had this like fairy tale Disneyland-esque type of expectation around, oh, I'm gonna click live, I'm gonna put up one post on Instagram, and people are gonna see this, it's gonna go viral, people are gonna flock to the Kickstarter page, and I'm gonna hit my goal in like a day. You know what I mean? Or I'm gonna hit my goal in like a week. That's the fairy tale that I had in my head around these expectations, right? Because in my head, I'm like, all right, people have been asking me like, yo, how can I support? And I've been pushing the monetization opportunities and things away because I'm like, you'll have an opportunity to support in the future. You know what I mean? Maybe not the best idea. I'll talk about strategy and what I've learned in another episode. I'm just getting my thoughts out. That's what I thought. You know what I mean? And people are like, they want to support, they want to do this, they want to do that. Even when I threw an event, people are like, oh, you should have charged. I want to support, blah, blah, blah. Right? Oh my God, when is the app coming out? I want to do that. I want to support. Cool. Just wait on it. I got you. I'm like, all these people, how many people do I have on Instagram? I got on the business account, on the Plural account, I got maybe like 5,000. On TikTok, I got 30,000 people following. LinkedIn, probably like another 20,000. You know what I mean? A lot, decent sized audience. Decent sized audience. I thought, all right, I'm gonna put one post on each platform. Everyone's gonna see it. People, it's gonna go viral. People want to support. Blah blah blah. Let me tell you, crickets. I gotta look back on like the day by day kind of thing. But see, that's when the anxiety kicked in because it was like this unrealistic expectation on what a day one would look like, and then what actually happened. And that gap between expectation and reality started to tick up the anxiety, and the anxiety started to turn into worry, and the worry started to go into self-doubt, and the self-doubt started going into, yo, this is literally how my brain went. My like that week I was looking for jobs. Legit, that week I was literally looking for jobs. I was like, damn, I spent all this money to build this app. Now I'm raising money for the app, and I can't even get 1,000 people to give me $50. And not give me $50 in the sense of like donating money. I'm talking about like, I'm gonna provide you value in return in some way, right? Like I started going to instant, my mind actually went to instantly like, you're a failure. I'm talking about like day 1 or 2. This is all happening in like day 1 or 2. And I'm not telling you these things are logical, but I'm telling you these things because this is where my brain went. And I'm sharing these things because oftentimes this is how a lot of our brains go. We instantly go to like worst case scenario. But yeah, no, I'm not even joking. I literally went on LinkedIn and started looking for jobs because my brain was like, P, if you can't do this, give up now, bro. Like go, yo, how long is your bank account? How long you got left in your bank account? How long is that savings gonna, how many months? Huh? You thought the money in your account and the months that you have left didn't really mean anything because you was about to raise $50,000 in a month. So you were like, my bank account don't even matter. It don't matter what it looked like. I'm not even gonna look at it because I'm about to raise $50,000 in just 1 month. And then panic hit on day 1 or 2, and you started looking for a job. I'm not even joking. I was like, who's hiring in sales? Who's hiring in product management? Who's hiring as a janitor? Give me anything. That's where my mind went towards like day 1 or 2. And it wasn't until like, when I regulated my nerves, my anxiety, my self-doubt, and all of these things, what I realized, like, one, and I don't really remember when, but at some point, the first thing that came into mind was like, okay, well, what were your expectations going into this? Right. And realizing how unrealistic they were and how like fairy tale-esque they were around like the first day. Right. Two, how much time do you have left? Which at the time was, 3 weeks. And then my mind in that point went into strategy. Okay, well, 3 weeks left. What can you do between now and then to make this happen? Like, what's really the problem here? My mind instantly went into like problem solving mode. And it was, well, not instantly, it took a few days, but went into problem solving mode in the sense of like, all right, well, what's the real problem here? Because you wouldn't be okay, work backwards. You wouldn't be having this if you were quote unquote closer to your goal of 50,000. Okay, so the problem is raising money. Okay, so the problem is raising money. That means the problem there is that people aren't going to the Kickstarter and submitting, how much ever they want to support. Okay, well maybe the problem there is awareness. Okay, well maybe you need to make people aware. You know what I mean? And then working backwards and backwards. And then last week, I literally started DMing everybody one by one on my Instagram account. On the personal one, was like, yo, here's the link, here's the link, here's the link. And people started donating, right? So I was like, oh shit, okay. Problem solving, awareness. That's helping my anxiety. Cool. And then the last thing, and this was a big mindset shift as well, was like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, worst case scenario, this isn't successful. This Kickstarter campaign is not successful. What is the worst case scenario? Like, you're still going to launch the app, right? Yeah. Okay. The worst case scenario, you're just where you were before and you're still going to launch the app? Yeah. Okay. Like, most people launch a Kickstarter or GoFundMe, and maybe I'm doing this a little backwards, but I'm kind of happy that I did it this way, right? Most people raise the money for the 50,000 to then go build it. Whereas like I'm already building it and I'm just using this as kind of like a pre-sale to give people really discounted rates, heavily discounted rates on what I'm going to be selling. Worst case scenario, I'm still going to launch the app. Like, this is not necessarily deterring. It might be an ego hit. It might just be an ego hit saying like, oh, well, I failed in that. But in reality, is like I had to like really remind myself like this isn't necessarily deterring anything that you're doing besides having the revenue there. So like it was through journaling, it was through talking with the app that I realized like I really need to talk myself out of these like limiting beliefs that are going on in my head. And I think this is an interesting point about being a solo founder as well. And no, well, yeah, just being a solo founder, like you kind of have to have these conversations with yourself. And I think oftentimes when we have it with ourselves, it leads to these like problematic thinking patterns. Whereas like if you just invite another person into that, whether it be the AI, the app that we created, whether it be a friend, a co-founder, you start to realize that your mind is just going to like worst case scenarios. And sometimes you don't want to hear that shit. Sometimes you really don't want to hear like, oh well, like no, you still have a chance. There's still time. Sometimes you don't want to hear that shit. Sometimes it's about timing. You know what I mean? But sometimes you really do need to hear that shit. Sometimes you need to hear from the right person at the right time, etc. But you really do need to hear that shit. So I've got 2 weeks left. I do want to make this happen. I do think it's still possible. I think we've only raised, not only, but we've raised, I think, almost $1,000. I think we're like 12% funded, something like that. Maybe 10%. I don't know, something like that. 10 to 12% funded. So something around like $10,000. Almost like 70 or 80 people have donated, and we have $40,000 left. Can we still do it? I think so. No. You know what? Can we still do it? Yes, we can. Will we? Time will tell. We'll know in the next 20 or so days. But if we don't, it is not the end. I've learned a lot from this process that I'll share in the next episode. Like 3 lessons learned from just doing this Kickstarter for like 2 weeks. But if this doesn't work out, we're still going to be a tech company. We're still going to help people with their mental health. We're still going to help people navigate self-discovery and life and all the ups and downs and all that shit. We're still going to move forward. We're still launching. So we're just going to be doing it with a bit less funding and a bit more continued dependence on my savings account. Let's see what happens in the next few weeks. If you're interested in supporting the Kickstarter, check the link in the show notes of this week's episode. I will appreciate your support.